master had to be made, and then it had to be shipped to the printers. And today, Sunday, February the 7th, 1993, the spoken chronology was done, and that took about 3 hours, and the total time on Broder this week was 14.5 hours. And the joke of the day is, a little girl said, "Mommy, is it true, as the Bible says, that we come from dust and we return to dust?" Mommy said, "Yes." And the little girl says, "I just looked under the couch and somebody's either coming or going." This is Glendora, and this is a chat with Glendora, and these are two lawsuits. Glendora versus Gannett, Broder, etc. Breach of contract is the first one, and libel is the second one. Bye-bye, everybody, and keep the courage flaming.
Their feminist perspective is very important to us as we seek to come.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hi there, everybody. How are you? This is a paper. These a couple of papers here to read you. The first one is from the lawyer for Gannett, Broder, Sherlock, Curley, and so forth. And here's the blue back. And the paper is from Robert L. Brinton, who is the lawyer for them. And it's the Supreme Court of the State of New York, Appellate Division, 2nd Judicial Department. Glendora, plaintiff appellant against Gannett Suburban Newspapers, Gary Sherlock, John J. Curley, Lawrence K. Beaupre, Mitchell Broder, Joseph Krakowiak, Gary Watson, Merrill Harris, and Seth Harrison, defendants, respondents. And this is an affirmation in opposition to appellant's motion for leave to appeal to the appellate division. And it has 2, 3 docket numbers. It has a docket number for the Harrison Court, it has a docket number for the appellate term, and now it has a new docket number for the appellate division. Robert L. Brinton, an attorney duly admitted to practice before the courts of this state, hereby affirms under penalties of perjury as follows. 1, I am an attorney at law duly licensed to practice law before the courts of the state of New York. I am the attorney of record herein for the defendants, respondents, and as such I am fully familiar with the facts and circumstances cited herein. Trial for this case was held at the town court for the town of Harris on Friday, October 18, 1991. Judgment dismissing the complaint against all defendants was entered on November 15, 1991. Plaintiff Glendora filed and served a notice of appeal on November 18, 1991 to the appellate division, the appellate term. 3, the appellate term of the Supreme Court of the State of New York for the 9th and 10th Judicial Districts heard the oral arguments presented by both sides on October 15, 1992. By an order dated November 5, 1992, the appellate term affirmed the trial court's decision that there was no binding agreement between the plaintiff and the defendants. On November 23, 1992, appellant Glendora filed with the appellate term a motion for re-argument before the appellate term or for leave to appeal to the appellate division on November 23, 1992. An order and decision dated January 20, 1993 from the appellate term denied appellant's motion to re-argue before the appellate term. It also denied her motion for leave to appeal to the appellate division. Appellant Glendora has now submitted to the appellate division of the Supreme Court of the State of New York, 2nd Division, a motion returnable February 26, 1993 for leave to appeal to the appellate division. This in spite of the fact that the appellate term already denied her this same relief. He's all wrong about this, and I'm going to tell you how, why, later. Respondents hereby object to appellant's motion for a leave to appeal for the reasons set forth herein. 7, appellant Glendora's position appears to be that there was an error at the trial level because Judge Johnson of the town court and Harrison didn't get her point, quote unquote. The appellate term, after reviewing the transcript of the trial and the appellate brief submitted by both parties, determined that there was no error at the trial level. I will comment about that later. Appellant Glendora is now seeking leave to appeal on the grounds that the appellate term judges didn't understand the issues either. Appellant Glendora insists that respondents took time and work away from Glendora by doing the interview when she could have been out getting business. 10, as the trial court determined and the appellate term upheld, the relationship between Glendora and respondents never matured into one of a contract. This is wrong. Therefore, all interviewing of Glendora by Gannett's reporters was a voluntary process which either party could halt at any time without liability to the other party. Appellant Glendora does not present any new issues of fact or law that were overlooked by either the Harrison Town Court or the appellate term. Wherefore, respondents object to appellant's motion for leave to appeal to the appellate division for the reasons set forth above and respectfully request that the court deny appellant's motion. In witness whereof, Robert L. Britton sets forth his hand and seal the 16th day of February 1993. Robert L. Britton, dated White Plains, New York, February 16, 1993, mailed to Glendora, Box 532, Scarsdale, New York, 10583. This is the cover letter by the paralegal, and
that seeks to look at
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, here is plaintiff appellant's Glendora affirmation in opposition to defendant's opposition to Glendora's motion for leave to appeal to the appellate division. Supreme Court of the State of New York, Appellate Division, 2nd Judicial Department, Glendora against, plaintiff appellant against, Gannett Suburban Newspapers, Gary Sherlock, John J. Curley, Lawrence K. Beaupre, Mitchell Broder, Joseph Krakowiak, Gary Watson, Merrill Harris, and Seth Harrison, defendants, respondents. Docket number 88829, Harrison Court. Docket number 9300870 of the Appellate Division. Paragraph 1. Britton says he is fully familiar with the facts and circumstances cited herein. He never is. He gave the appellate term false information. He gave the Harrison Court false information. He perjures himself. He never knows what the issue is, breach of contract. He smoke screens and beclouds with freedom of the press. Editors are to make editorial decisions. The time to make the editorial decisions, folks, was before the contract was made, not after. Glendora should not get paid for the interview, and that's not the issue at all. People don't get paid for interviews. And he confuses the judge in Harrison, and he confuses the 3 judges on the appellate term. Paragraph 2. At the oral argument, the judges did know what was going on, and the duplicity of Gannett, Broder, Britton shamefully shattered the oral argument process. Paragraph 3. Consequently, the appellate term made the wrong decision because they were so befuddled by Gannett, Broder, Britton's false statements, both at the oral argument and in the written papers. Paragraph 4. There was a binding agreement, a contract, between Gannett, Broder et al. And Glendora. Gannett, Curley, Watson, Sherlock, Beaupre, Harris, Broder, Krakowiak, and Harrison made a contract with Glendora and stupidly breached it and should pay Glendora $7,000 damages and costs. Paragraph 5. In answer to Britton's paragraph 5, the clerks at the appellate term and the appellate division told Glendora she could go directly to the appellate division. And this is what she did. Maybe Gannett, Broder, Britton should ask the clerks at the appellate term and the appellate division how to do things. Maybe the shareholders should not have to pay Britton $250, I estimate, for that paper that I just read you. His paper of February the 16th, 1993. And I talked to the appellate division yesterday, and they said the same thing, this lawyer is wrong. Okay? That's what the whole appeal process is. You have a right to appeal what you think the lower court did wrong. Paragraph 6. So this nullifies respondents' objection of their paragraph 5. The appellate term was wrong for all of the reasons Glendora said in her affidavit in support of her motion. Return date February the 26, 1993, for leave to appeal to the appellate division. One point is that the 3 judges, DePaulo and Gracia and Collins, did not review the transcript they made Glendora pay $1,450 for. one of the worst rip-offs I've ever seen in a lifetime, and did not read her brief. This was obvious by their words during the oral argument and by their decision a month later. Nor did the panel hear the audio tapes. All that evidence. How can you make a decision if you don't hear the evidence? Further, there were errors by Judge Johnson in the Harrison, New York court and by Gannett Broder Britton. The appellate term was wrong, and Glendora has every right to appeal this. Otherwise, rewrite the civics textbooks teaching our ninth graders about our so-called, quote, justice, unquote, system. Paragraph 10, in response to paragraph 8 of the Gannett Broder Britton paper of February 16, 1993, Gannett Broder Britton never understood the issues either. See Glendora's paragraph 5 of this February 22, 1993 paper. And by the way, that's the date today, folks, February 22nd, Washington's birthday. Poor Washington. I don't think he'd like to see how things turned out. Paragraph 11, Gannett Broder et al. Did do exactly what Glendora said. In the words of Justice DiPaolo at the oral argument on October 15, 1992, quote, defendants took the time and work away from Glendora when she could have been out getting business. But when it came time to write the decision, which is one word, denied, apparently Justice DiPaolo forgot that. Paragraph 12, the Harrison court and the appellate term both were wrong that there was no contract. There was a contract. By New York statutes, there was a contract. But both courts are afraid to rule against Gannett because Gannett is a big business and Gannett is a newspaper and Gannett is a monopoly. There is no other newspaper for a forum to present the other side in Westchester County, and the political bosses don't want their judges upsetting Gannett. And Glendora will say so on television. Just said so. Paragraph 13, Britton's paragraph 10 is another falsehood, or it is a stupid. This is not the case at all. Britton never understands the issue in spite of his oath. I am fully familiar with the facts and circumstances, quote unquote. Do you think Glendora would have spent 30 hours of time and labor giving Gannett Broder an interview and sitting for some 100 pictures, of which they would use 1 or 2 or maybe 3, by Seth Harrison, if Gannett Broder Seth Harrison had said, quote, I may not write this story, which is what they said after 3 months. 3 months. It was 6 months. Excuse me. It was 30 hours, 6 months. There is no way Gannett Broder Britton can lie about this and get away with it. They obviously have lost their self-respect. Next is losing your respect. You can't get much lower in this life than selling your soul, as did Dr. Faustus. This is what Gannett, Curley, Watson, Sherlock, Beaupre, Harris, Broder, Krakowiak, and Harrison have done. They have sold their souls, and then they pay Britton to lie for them. This is a disgusting violation of truth and ethics, quote, was a voluntary process, unquote, and, quote, which either party could halt at any time without liability to the other party. That's an out-and-out lie. This is not what the Empire State Contract Law says. Gannett Broder et al. Are in violation of the New York State law and should be punished and should pay Glendora the $7,000 they robbed her of, they lied her out of, cheated her out of, and stole her out of. Also, they should pay punitive damages so that they don't go out and do this to you or to anybody else. This has to stop. When a newspaper abuses its calling to society because that newspaper is a monopoly and because that newspaper prints only one side, that has got to stop. Britton said, quote, Glendora does not present any new issues of fact or law. Glendora is not supposed to. The appellate division is bound by the record in the appellate term, and in the lower Harrison court, you can't present new issues. Glendora has heard Judge DiPaolo say that to appellants respondents 24 times in monitoring the appellate term every session but one, from January 1992 to January 1993 this year. This is David and Goliath. Paragraph 15, Gannett Broder et al. Britton are as crooked and corrupt about this February 16, 1993 paper as they were about the contract they made with Glendora and breach. I'll say it again, this paper that I just read to you is as crooked and corrupt as the whole breaching of the contract. It is a way of life with them. Do not keep your word and then lie about it. Paragraph 16, Britton must write such rubbish because he is convinced you are not going to read it. Accordingly, plaintiffly begs the appellate division to grant her motion for leave to appeal and to give this long-suffering bullied Glendora justice and relief and $7,000. Glendora, Box 532, Scarsdale, New York, 10583, dated White Plains, New York, February 22nd, 1993. Mailed to Robert L. Britton, 81 Main Street, White Plains, New York, 10601, and to 9 defendants and to 7 other people in the media. Sworn to before me this 22nd day of February 1993, Mary Natoli. Mary Natoli, Notary Public, State of New York, number 60385-20000, qualified in Rockland County. Term expires June 30, 1993. Now I got to tell you the joke of the day. This camping party was hopelessly lost in the woods of northern Maine. And finally, one of the campers couldn't stand it any longer, and she got up the courage to say to the guide, "You told us you were the best guide in Maine." And the guide said, "Well, I am, but right now I think we're in Canada." Keep the courage flaming, folks. Keep the courage flaming. Don't give up. Stand up for what is right.
Yeah.
Smile. Smile big.
Yeah.
Electric Eel. And they said like the starter for the Model
Just,
C is like maybe $1,420.
This
You
is
gotta
it,
lease
huh?
the thing. Yeah. And after that,
So,
you start with the main lines, and then I'll just move my way down to the singles.
No, Drew said it wasn't enough for him. So he said, you know, first he wanted to work part-time, then he wanted to all of it. So, you know, I said, I can't take the work from my regular guys.
Look toward me, please.
Just, what's nights and weekends, you know?
But who you got covering the weekend?
two storms of the century. Remember December 11th, December 12th, 1992? This has been some winter, let me tell you. This is the 16th storm. Chat with Glendora. Little patience plants blossoming indoors. Cute. Blossoming indoors on March the 14th, 1993. So bright in here you can't get a picture. Let's walk around here. Still. Oh, that's pretty. Very pretty. This is office one. There again, it's so bright you can't get a picture. It's beautiful. It gets sunshine all the way around. There's the money wall. And there's a job in process. Nice desk at the window. And a bank of telephones. These are tapes for Chat with Glendora. They're also tapes for commercials. 1-inch tapes, 3/4 inch, and 1/2-inch tapes. That whole drawer is filled with 1/2-inch tapes. It took me about 25 minutes to get the phones all hooked up again. There's 3 phones and an auto dial and a telephone answering machine. It took a while to get all those lines hooked up. What is the time? The time is, wow, 12:07 p.m. And this is April the 3rd, 1993. Saturday, and here's the cable TV. This is the program that was being taped the day Glendora came into TCI to edit, Thursday, April 1st, Fool's Day, April Fool's Day. Let's see if we can change some channels here. Those are channels that we didn't pay for. Chocolate Easter basket that Franklin won in the AM contest. Isn't that adorable? It's all chocolate. The handle and the basket. And of course this is on Holy Saturday, 1993, April the 10th.